And welcome back to Nzone Focus. Our guests are Andy and Nikki Bray, who joined us in the wake of the publication of Andy's book, Treasures in the Darkness. Well, we talked about Andy's early life, and then you come on the scene. Now, you were a Christian and he wasn't. So how did that work out?
Well, because it was just a work friendship to start with. I had come out from England and I'd been here about 18 months at the time, and I'd just started a new job. And I remember the boss saying to me at the end of the first week, he kind of handed me the company credit card and he said, invite some of our top clients, say 3 or 4 of them, to the Benson Hedges tennis at the time, you know, the corporate boxes. And they suggested that Andy was one of them because he enjoyed tennis. He was the president of a tennis club at the time. So I rang him and invited him to come to the tennis, and he came, and we just kind of really hit it off as good friends, and he was very, very funny. I'd never met anyone who could just tell as many jokes as Andy. Very entertaining, and straight away, actually, he found out that I was a Christian. I was a relatively new Christian. And he wanted to know, he kind of wanted to know, you know, what this faith meant and how it lived out in my life. And
she was very bold with her faith, and it was very attractive. Yeah, you were very proud of your faith, and I thought it shone out of you. I think that's a lesson for all of us who are Christians, is not to be ashamed of our faith, but to let it shine, because it's really attractive attribute to non-Christians.
But you wanted to keep it just on a friendship level, because...
Well, because I'd made that commitment early on.
She had boundaries.
Yeah, I kind of said to myself, and I mean, we weren't interested in each other, you know, we were just work colleagues at that time, but I had made the commitment already to myself that there was no way I was ever going to get into a serious relationship that could then lead to marriage with someone who wasn't a Christian. So for me, it was easy to kind of keep that friendship and not let it go beyond that. And then we started spending more time, and we had similar interests as well. It wasn't long. It was probably only about 3 or 4 months later that he actually one night, we were in a church at the time, and they asked people to come forward if they felt like they wanted to give their heart to the Lord, and he just went forward.
Actually, you didn't want to go forward, did you? You wanted to get around the back.
No, I still remember that service. It was like yesterday, really. Quite a profound meeting, and it wasn't anything a particular special meeting, but I just felt the Lord's voice tapping me on the shoulder and just calling me to be a part of this Christian faith, and just wanting to say a prayer. It wasn't public, it was behind the scenes, it was out the back, which I appreciated, and just a sense of joy that overfilled me. So yeah, it's a very special moment, actually. Yeah.
So what did you feel when he finds out, or comes around and says, hey, I'm a Christian now?
It was kind of interesting, because I remember straight away almost sensing that God was saying, this is the guy you're going to marry. And I was thinking, oh, this is a bit too soon. So, yeah, it was, I mean, I was excited for Andy, but it was almost kind of quite quickly I sensed God saying that. And then we did start, our friendship grew very quickly from then on.
I had a bit of catching up to do.
You did, but at the same time, I think with Andy, he's a very passionate person, and when he gets involved with something, he doesn't just want to go through the motions, he wants to excel at it, and he wants to give it the best he could. So he just powered on in his faith, and he didn't just want to go to church, he wanted to serve God. He wanted to be actively involved in what he was doing out there in the world.
And when we dated, we did Bible study, how's that?
We did.
Excellent. Which sort of brings us on fairly neatly to family life. Now, you were still working at what you might call a proper job, and then you felt that it was time to move into full-time ministry.
When Nikki and I decided to get married, we realised with my background, I'd been divorced, not a very good start for someone that's about to get married, and Nikki's background with her parents, she'd had a pretty rough upbringing as a young girl in terms of experiencing divorce. And so understanding where our backgrounds were, we actually made a decision. We need to go to regular marriage courses to make sure we nip anything in the bud.
So we knew we needed tools, and we would need ongoing help.
So I came home one night from work, and Nikki showed me this pink photocopied brochure. And to see this pamphlet on pink photocopied paper, I'm thinking, oh no, we're going to be doing something in a church hall in bunk beds or something. It just wasn't my idea, but I'd made this pledge to Nikki that we would do something regular to enhance our marriage. So we went along, didn't we? And it was at the Waipuna Hotel, and it was just, the teaching was absolutely outstanding. It absolutely gripped me, and I don't know what it was to this day, but I think what I was inspired about was, here were some real men who had lived out life, faced some difficulties, but they were sharing some profound principles on marriage right out from the Bible with such authority that it was inspirational. And I just remember sitting in that room saying, everybody needs to hear this. Why isn't this stuff out there? So I just offered my services as a design kind of an advertising kind of guy, and it started from there, really, small beginnings.
Isn't it interesting though that it's almost like you were being steered.
Prepared.
The pair of you were being steered towards that from way back.
I actually, there's a statement that I say when I give my testimony, and I think it's probably a very common one that most people use, but it's very true for both of us, and it's that the pains of my past became very much the passions of my future. And I think that's true with both of us. You know, we'd seen it lived out differently, Andy from a spouse's perspective and me from a child, but it gave us such a passion and a vision for what marriage and family should be about, as how God wants it to be lived out in the world. So yeah, I think we were being prepared.
If we can turn around some of that pain and get people to revisit the whole idea of covenant and inspire them to live out a marriage the way God intended, then, you know, I want to be a part of that.
Let's take a break there. We'll be back in a couple of minutes to bring the story up to date.